You're listening to the HoneyDew with Ryan Sickler.
Welcome back to the HoneyDew, y'all. It's Wednesday. We still doing it over here at your mom's house. I am your host, Ryan Sickler. You can find me on all social media at Ryan Sickler. My website is ryansickler.com. My album, Get a Hold of Yourself, available, telling you all every week, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, Google Play. Make those Spotify channels. If anybody's even using Pandora, make those Pandora channels. It really helps. Go listen to it on Sirius. I appreciate all the 5-star reviews you guys are throwing up on iTunes. That also helps, so thank you very much. And again, thank you. Thank you for the positive reviews. Thank you for the love to the show. I'm not going anywhere. We're going to keep on doing this, and we'll be in soon over at your mom's house studio. Excuse me, their Studio Jeans. I'm not sure what the one I'm called is going to be, and we'll find out. And I'll let you know, and we'll be posting it and everything when the Crab Feast eps are up on their own site, which is coming soon as well. There is no more double show on this feed. It is now just the HoneyDew. And HoneyDew info, the website is thehoneydewpodcast.com. You can email me at honeydewpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the show on social media. On Facebook, The HoneyDew Podcast is the official fan page. And on Twitter, at HoneyDewPod. This week, my guest is an old friend, a great comedian, and a Crab Feast favorite. Just a great dude. I'm stoked to have him on this week. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carl D. Gregorio,
What's
y'all.
going on?
Welcome to the HoneyDew.
Thanks,
Carl
man. I'm
D.
excited. I'm more than excited. I'm
If there's
thrilled.
anyone I know that's right for the HoneyDew, it is certainly you, my friend.
Well, I am pleased to be right here with you. So thanks, man. This is great.
You know how we do it. We're keeping it super comfy. And first, before we get into anything, please plug and promote anything you want, Carl D. Your social media, your book on Amazon.
Yes,
Drama
the Drama
King.
King, available on Amazon. You could also shout at me.
He's published.
It is. I am published, and it it had some subtitles. I was going to call it obviously the Drama King stuck, but I was going to call Carl D. Get Some because it's got a lot of that in it. But no, it's
you did the right thing.
Yeah, I think I did. You can catch me on. This is funny because of I'm on all social media as Carl D. Gregorio.
Do I know why?
Just because somebody had my name, and
who the fuck else is Carl D. Gregorio?
I know who would pick that catchy ass thing. So yeah, Carl D. Gregorio on all social media, and my website where you can get at me is I have a million different domains feeding into it, but the latest one I'm kind of happy with is dgregorgeous.com.
dgregorgeous, nah, dude. What's the main site?
CarlDGregorio.com.
But what other ones do you have?
DramaKingCarl.com. You could also get there via CarlDDoesIt.com. That all feeds because I've had so many bad rebrands, and
so I've
given up and just keep buying domains.
Bunch of .coms that just push to one site.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, that sounds like you can get the Carl D anywhere, everybody.
Yeah, trying.
Well, again, thank you for being here. You know, when I started doing this, I wanted to talk to you. I definitely wanted to have you on because we've been friends for a long time. We've done comedy together a long time, and of course, you've had some fantastic. If you haven't heard any of Carl's episodes on the Crab Feast, you got to go. They're must listens, Hall of Fame eps. But you, I know we never really talked about it so much, and this is what I'd like to start talking to you about today. You are one of how many?
I'm the youngest of four.
Yeah. But when you say you're the youngest, what is the age difference between you and is it all brothers?
It's two brothers and a sister.
So
and
who's oldest?
Barry is 13 years older.
And then
Steve and Karen. I hope they don't mind I dropped their actual names.
Well, I mean, it's probably in the book. And
they
shit,
could probably look it up. Yeah.
13 years.
11 and 10, yeah.
So your next closest sibling is 10 years from you.
Uh-huh.
So are you an oops baby? Or
I jokingly call myself a love child or a happy accident, and I'm pretty sure it was a more of an accident or but I guess what happened is they overdid it with affection and broke a lot of maybe the pathologies.
What month are you born in?
July.
Have you timed that back?
I haven't.
9 months.
I'm just bad with numbers.
What is that? November?
Yeah, so when was I conceived is what you're trying to fucking
like,
figure
it might
out?
have been like a Halloween party, but they would have just got buck wild on Halloween.
Yeah, they were just like Dick Cavett. Dick Cavett and Suzanne Plachette or some shit like that, right?
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I've never really made that, I mean, a lot of people laugh and they joke, and my girlfriend always says, that means that they were still into each other, long into their marriage.
And well after their third kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sounded like it was tough because back in the day, there wasn't, as I don't know, maybe there was for rich people, but there just wasn't like industries for child care. So my mom talks about like 3 kids in about 3 years and just being overwhelmed.
You and I were just talking about this because I'm telling you about my daughter in preschool from 2. And I just remember preschool when we were kids being 4 years old,
Yep.
and then you did like 1 year of preschool, and then you went kindergarten.
Right.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so you
2,
were
3,
home
4,
for many years. It
right.
seems like, I'm sure for the folks, it must have been, And then she had 3, and then there was this 10-year hiatus
where they think they're out of the woods.
And then homie pops
that
up.
Motherfucking Halloween party ruined everything.
Yeah, right.
So, being the youngest, you've said some things to me before too, because everybody else at that point is, as they're gone 18, you're only 8.
Yeah, like the one sort of math I figured out was that my brother Barrett, the oldest brother, he like left the house when I was 5 years old. So, in terms of feeling like I had siblings, there was just one after the other would go away to college. And, that was, I guess, early. It was sad to be dragged to these colleges. And we went in the car together, and then we came back, and it was just me and the folks. And we did that like 3 times.
Like the family just kept getting smaller.
And, you can't, I mean, we're all.
Carl, you're going to be able to sit up front in a couple more years.
Yeah, pretty soon. It's all your shotgun soon. But I guess at some point you couldn't put it together. So I probably internalized it, took it personally, and just missed having all that attention.
So, yeah, it's interesting. So you have 3 siblings that you'd never roughhoused with or play.
No.
Yeah,
right. I mean,
you're
it's
not
like, what are they
going to
beat up on an infant?
Yeah, playing games. But I mean, the fact that those 3 are, they had that with each other, it sounds like, and then I
think psychologically speaking, I was probably raised like an only child. I felt like an only child. I didn't have to share shit. It was a whole decade later, so like the whole the society changed enough that it was different, and so I'm like I joke all my girlfriends. I would say like I need constant attention. I also need to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah,
at the same time, because it's like
independently codependent.
Yeah, I didn't have to share a fucking bathroom. My hand-me-down clothes would have been. I really would have looked like Starsky and Hutch. Like they would have been bell bottoms and earth shoes and shit.
Right,
and
yeah.
It just would. I couldn't even inherit clothes. And I'm actually reading this book, the Michelle McNamara book about the Golden Gate Killer, and she had a similar age disparity. And then she said that her life was saved when neighbors across the street moved in and they had twin girls at the same age.
Boom.
And I was lucky that there were kids across the street, and those were, they were my sort of surrogate siblings, and friends became really important. And my dad had a weird schedule, so
what did he do?
He was a newspaper writer. He worked for the New York Times, sports. He edited. He did he worked the slot, what they call, which is like cramming every article into the page, and then he worked moonlit, like as Information Please Almanac, and he wrote a book, and so he was always in the city.
It's authors in your blood, man.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm sure that's part of what drove me, but he had a weird schedule, so he'd be out of the house when I got up for school, or he'd be in bed, because like in sports the deadline is 11 p.m. so he's getting home from the city at midnight, so it felt like at certain times like I was like raised by a single mom in a way,
Mm-hmm.
But then I had those friends across the street. They had younger parents. They did more shit. I got the horseback ride. I was blessed to have that kind of extension,
So how old are your parents when you're 5?
I guess they're in their 40s, right? Like they had me. I got to do the math on this shit. But.
Yeah, I want to know because I'm 45. My daughter's 4. 40 when we got pregnant, 41.
Yeah, I guess my dad was 42. I guess I think I did do that for the sake of the book, I figured out that my dad was 42, 43 when he
had you,
and my mom was 37, so something like that. Okay. So then by 5, they're both in their 40s, you know. So I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think I was more. That was a more unique scenario than it is today, because I think people put it off because of fertility technology and our
money, wanting to be financially settled,
right,
and you never have enough money.
Right.
I mean, unless you're, well off, shit just comes up. That's what, I learned that too. Like you could put away $200,000, and then
it'll be
some bullshit happens, and poof, that could be gone. So you never have enough.
But you don't feel like a old dad around your kids.
Fuck,
parents,
I'm running through jungle gyms. Yeah, I take her to these play places, and I had to buy knee pads because at my first day I was climbing through all these tunnels. My knees were killing me.
Oh.
Now I got knee pads. You should see me shoot through these motherfuckers.
Do you get those fucking skate park ones with the
no,
plastic?
Not
on
the
there?
hard ones. No, they don't let you in those. I was gonna try.
Oh, because you could hurt somebody.
Yeah, I got the cushions, and they can snag and rip and shit.
You're like Patrick Ewing
I
out
shoot
there
right
on
through.
the fucking.
I shoot right through. I'm passing kids in there. I will say this though, my one fear, because it's it's not built for people my size, so it's tight. And I'm always worried about an earthquake when I'm in one of those tunnels.
You think about that?
Every time, like, get to the bottom, get to the bottom. That's what I think. Move, kids! Move, kids! Like, if they're all down there, like, go! Go!
You're putting fear into the little kids.
I can't even help it in those situations.
Wow, that's an acute. You're like an animal.
I don't feel like an old dad, and we do the play date thing too. But I know from talking to you over the years, you just have always said you were that kid that grew up around all the adults.
Yeah, I mean,
you were being taken places, and
it sucked because, and like I said, I'm trying not to, in my development and trying to self-help and do, maintenance on things. Like, you can literally flip a narrative in your head on a dime if you decide to, right? So you can say, that sucked. I was around a bunch of old people all the time. Man, it would have been cool to have my brothers on the same basketball team to beat up, whatever those things are. It would have been great. But, now I have to sort of see it as, it made me the sort of egghead, big brain sort of, the trivia stuff that I'm really kind of obsessed with. It gave me that. But, I guess the only issue was maybe a little loneliness because I didn't have a pack of siblings. You know what I mean? I mean, you had a twin, right?
From day fucking one, I had one.
And I don't know what that dynamic is.
Second.
It's
4 minutes.
Yeah.
I talk about. I like to think I joke about me being older.
Right.
And that I was conceived first, that I just shoved him out so that I could get 4 fucking minutes of
solitude.
Peace and quiet.
Yeah,
That's my whole life. He's been there every time.
Wow.
That's it.
Was there trauma when you separated to move to another coast? Like, did you have an emotional parting or anything like that?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I cried all the way to Tennessee, bro.
Oh, that's
for
beautiful.
real.
Yeah,
oh,
fuck yeah.
I mean, I was leaving everyone and everything I knew.
Yeah.
To go someplace where I had no shit.
Right.
I had people. I didn't know about anything. I didn't know about the business. I still don't know shit.
Right. But and you also gave up on that fucking twin telepathy shit that everybody makes jokes about.
We never had that. We sound alike. I mean, I'm going to do an episode with him. I told him he has to do an episode with me because I want to talk to him about his memories of the shit I remember.
Right.
We all remember things differently.
100%.
There's something to it where it's like, well, do you remember this? Because I've had friends who've already listened and called me up and said, man, do you remember when you did this or we did this? And I'm like, no, I don't. I forget a lot of that shit.
That's happening, and that you can. The cool thing is sometimes you can be right, and when you're wrong, it freaks you out because you've identified with this either hardship or accomplishment, and you're fucking way off on it. That's crazy.
Yeah,
and your brother could fill in some of those blanks,
right.
or at least a different perspective.
We sound a lot alike. I told him I would like to see
if you could get away on the phone with the.
We always did. There wasn't a relative, only our parents. There wasn't, well, I should say my dad. There wasn't a relative who could call the house and figure out who they were talking to.
Oh, that fucking accent exists in another human being.
I mean, to a T. The cadence, the everything.
Well, that's
he's a little more slower and like that.
Because he stayed in the fucking
because he stayed
Baltimore.
But there were girls that would call, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to her. And he would talk to her, and I'd be playing video games with the kids in the neighborhood, my brothers and shit. Unlike you,
yeah.
And he would hit me. He'd be like, "You're going to the movies on Friday. You're going to see Police Academy." I'm like, "You're a fucking dick, dude."
Oh, he would set you up for shitty
he'd set
dates.
me out to go on dates like he was me.
What if he's like, Ryan, I have a deep connection with you that I've never had with another 14-year-old girl in my life, like setting you up for like
Totally
breaking her heart and shit. That's what when you farm that shit out, it can jam you up big time.
So what happens? How do you develop? How do you like you probably learn to start talking to adults quicker.
You do. I mean,
kids.
My friends used to fucking want to kill me because when you're starting drinking, you go out partying, and in the suburbs, you kind of like
you try and get charcuterie and shit.
Yeah,
yeah. Just like, we want some Miller Lite, motherfucker.
We're fucking the signal. The best winter jacket wasn't how good it looked. It's like how many beers it could carry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like, and my brother did have one crazy ass down jacket that kind of, I guess, is always in stock because it's a big bubble jacket.
Get my smoking jacket. What?
Exactly.
My smoking jacket.
Yeah.
You mean your winter jacket? No, my smoking jacket.
No, for when we go retire to the library, right? And drink cognac
Yeah, I
and
was
shit.
about to say. Hey, get my cognac.
No, but like, so I'd always be the kid who would like converse with the adults, and my buddies would be like, "Can we get the fuck out of here? Stop being nice to my parents." And I was just chatty, and I related better.
To it. Yeah, you're right. You're relating more to that age.
And sometimes, like, I don't know if this is true, but like until I found some really close friends, most of I would kick it with some like neighborhood kids or just kids on teams, and I'd be like, these kids are fucking like morons, you know what I mean? Like, I don't relate. And so, and I even
never seen it.
I have a theory. This is a total conjecture, but like I had a girlfriend, the first big one, and I think she kind of broke up with me because I was too acceptable to her mom. Because I would, like, I'd knock on the door and I'd be like, you gotta, never mind. I would say, is she home? And she'd be like, no, she'll be here in a minute. And I'd sit in the kitchen and have like cookies and shit and just kick it with her mom.
That was me too. I would do that with the moms.
I always thought that it was like a way to get after the mom or whatever. But
I just always looked at it like I never really had that mom, so it was cool to sit and talk to some moms.
Yeah, that's a nice.
Because they'd always be moms. They'd be like, "Do you want a sandwich?"
Oh, wow, yeah, you would need that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
But see, I'm with you on that because it was very hard for me to relate in both worlds. By the time I was 16, my father's dead.
Wow.
My mom's left. I had gone through more than most of my friends' parents had at that age. And they didn't even know how to talk to me. You know, I could see that they were uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They made every attempt to be an adult, but they didn't. There was no hindsight. There was no, this or this.
Yeah.
There was no, and then on the other flip side is these kids I'm talking to their parents. They don't know what the fuck I'm going through, so they can't relate. So that's why.
Wow, yeah.
My family, my cousins, the good ones that I'm really tight with, my brothers, that we were so close because we were the only ones that could relate to what we were going through and dealing with. So that's when I started like really meeting the friends like, oh, your dad's bounced or, you're adopted or whatever.
Yeah.
And these honeydews all over the place.
Right.
And that's why I've always had that, like, my Achilles heel is always feeling for the fucking
downtrodden,
the bad guy, the underdog, and the bad guys. So sometimes they treat you like shit and flip on you. And you're like, well, of course you did.
Well, do you think that you had a maturity that was born out of that trauma versus like my maturity was more out of like getting data, whichever the fuck it is, getting data thrown at you.
I thought you were about to say getting
from adults,
data, something.
Like I was at a step maybe with my peers because of my odd background or at least an age disparity, and you were maybe at odds with your peers because of the things you'd suffered. You know what I mean? And that's a different kind of maturity. Because I would say, as I got older, I thought I was mature, but I also probably didn't handle traumas or setbacks as well as I should have because I was also a spoiled baby of the family. And just because I was verbal, that's a big growing up, and you get tested and all that shit. Sometimes you get what's the word? Like you get
represented,
mislabeled, or like being verbal doesn't necessarily mean you have any fucking coping skills. You know what I mean? Being an I was like a classic extrovert introvert, and so being able to do a presentation doesn't mean everything's hunky dory and that you're not or you're a positive attention seeker. They say the bad kids are they're just looking for attention, right?
Yeah.
But I was looking for positive attention, and it's just, I don't know, but that, you really came through glowingly, I would say, just in general.
Well, look, man, thank you. And to answer your question, I feel like all of that trauma, it made me smarter in a way, street smart.
Yeah.
I'm able to read people, made me adapt, but I didn't have the financial education.
Yeah.
For a long time, I just saved money or spent money. Just the last couple years, I started just saving. I got my daughter and life insurance, all that. You got to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We didn't have any of that. My dad didn't even have a will.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
well, he also probably didn't. He didn't think he was going.
No,
right?
He think he was dropping at 42. So there's no life insurance. There's no any of that. Now it might have come through like work or something like that. I don't know, but again, a lot of that was taken. So.
And I guess I got all that was sort of paved out for me. And my thing was I worried about shit, constantly worried about shit, everything. And
you still do.
I still do. I'm maybe improving. I'm trying to, but like it was really unnecessary. I was well taken care of.
Like, what do you mean? You'd worry about what sort of thing? Like trivial things?
Yeah, I had I literally
college
had every life change was going to be I literally thought I wasn't going to get into college. Period. Not just not get into the one I wanted.
And why? Grades?
Just the panic of stacking up, measuring up. And unfortunately, the thing that fucked me up a little bit was when I was really alert as a little kid, not as a baby, but my brothers and sisters were in high school and they were 70s high school. To me, they lived in Dazed and Confused.
Right.
That was that shit. That was a nostalgic movie for me only because through my eyes, that's how dope high school must have been in the because I think they were old.
They're
enough.
all going on a roller rink. Your mom's like, get in the car,
or they could drink at 18. So
right.
to pass a fake ID at 16, you could probably none of these. And they were active and they did shit, and it just looked. And then by the time I got to high school, I'm like, this is it. You know what I mean? So I always had these expectations, and that fucks your whole shit up. And then a couple of expectations with worry, and it's something I had to fucking deal with it. But then that, man, it's so lame and it's so, I don't know what, like Judy Blume or whatever the fuck. But like I kept journals and
why do you think that's lame?
Well, only because, you grow up in New Jersey where you're supposed to punch people out and throw rocks and shit like that. And then I took it upon myself. Like I didn't have to be assigned by a teacher to keep
What age did you start?
I think 14, 13. And I have them all, and
that's what was my next question.
Yeah, and the beauty of that, and
and then what are you journaling about? Your day? Are you writing poetry? What are you doing there?
The sad part is they're probably as similar.
Chapter 6 is my haikus.
I tried to dabble. I tried to dabble in poetry.
Made my own Sudoku puzzles in chapter 9.
It's it's not even keeping track of shit either. It was literally most of the time it was pep talks. You know what I'm saying? Yes,
talks? Yeah.
Pep talks, and then anxiety about approaching college, and then that's sort of when something changed me because
so wait,
a whole book about I'm never getting into college, like wasting like a whole notebook of writing to myself, what the fuck am I going to do? And then you turn 60 pages ahead and you're like, I'm at my first fucking day at school. And so
school, by the way, is not just school, it's Carnegie Mellon, which is
so I did okay and I got into a good school, and I made I used the image of the back of the car, right? The stickers, the college stickers. My brothers and sisters put some heavy stickers on that fucking car window, and I'm fucking. I didn't know I was gonna be able to even put a decent one up.
Grass, gas, or ass. Everybody rides for free. You're like, let's put a Carnegie Mellon over there. Shit's changing. Around.
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't. I was worried about it. On the 8th day, God created Springsteen was a bumper sticker and shit. No, but those decals from good colleges, and I just was freaked that I wasn't gonna be able to measure up.
So hold on. You're writing pep talks to yourself. So where does that come from?
Some people
you must wanted to do.
Yeah.
So there is a part of you that's you're battling yourself.
Yes,
there's
100%.
A part of you that knows.
Yes.
Hey, we're good. We're all right. We can do this.
I think so.
Buck up, fucking man up, and let's go fucking do this.
And I think I have. This is crazy for people who know me, who work with me or see me, but I think I have a sunny disposition. To be honest.
I would say you do.
Thank you for not leaving me. But when I lose my shit, when I lose my shit, that connotes negative thoughts, or stress makes you different than you are. Anxiety, like, it's crazy what it does.
My
It takes away
tells me about imprinting.
Yeah,
I learned
never
about
heard
this
that's
with
good.
the geese. I feel like I learned about this. Imp was
when they fly in a
yes,
flock.
they just know.
Yeah,
it's all and it's just it's an imprint. So how you learn to argue when you're a kid. Like you'll see some people say like, you're a fucking asshole. It's like, you don't need to say that there. That's something that you're used to. It's a
they strike
habit.
out. They got bad. That's how they resolve it. Yeah.
The best you can do is to acknowledge and recognize what your pattern is.
Right.
And then over the course of your life, try to minimize those incidents so that you're not doing that all the time. But I mean, you ain't ever getting rid of it. It's who you are.
And
it's now that battle and that control and that yin and yang, the balance you have to find, and hopefully the positive outweighs the negative.
Yeah, well, my therapist gave me a book, and I'm working through it. And these books were books you'd shun at the bookstore, or I guess it's just an ego thing, or feeling like I'm fucking up. Like, I would never have read these books before, but this one says, and I don't know if I agree, but it's about like how you self-talk, your inner monologue, that if it's negative self-talk and it's called the critic in your brain, which I know I have, because I used to do bits on stage where my inner voice sounded like Judge Judy yelling at the guy who didn't have his fucking paperwork in order and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's exactly what he's like when I'm trying to talk to a girl and Judge Judy's screaming in my ear. But the book, or a lot of therapists say that that's more damaging than any trauma could be. So theoretically, you could get, and when I read that, I was like, wow, that it's more debilitating to have a critical negative self monologue or self-talk, because you can you're going to take a beating with a trauma. You're going to mourn, you're going to grieve, and then one day, if you're lucky, you'll get over it. And then if you already have a good self-talk, then you'll be still better off than the person who may have less traumas, but just can't see the world half full, I guess, And so that's, I guess, been my battle. And I guess the journal was always me trying to be in the positive space, or
I mean,
or prayer. It might have been a form of prayer,
I hear you.
Like, who are you talking to who do you want to read? There's a narcissistic tendency, like someday people will read these.
Oh,
but
see, I didn't realize that was an element of it.
No. Other days you're like, nobody needs to ever fucking
I hope
see
no
these.
one ever sees
Yeah,
these.
and I think that's so. I always battled that, and so that they're really just they're like self-care tools in my mind, maybe.
But the actual physical exercise of journaling, and writing and thinking, that takes a lot of time, and especially to go through a full pad of just about one topic. So I'm saying you're putting more time into the positive and the thinking about it just by the nature of that being, opening a notepad, writing.
Yeah, and I like
just
the
these
pens,
random
the
thoughts,
pen and paper,
right.
and all that stuff was
Probably
soothing.
got into the pens.
Yeah. I'm definitely a total. I'm a total pen fetishist, and I like paper, and I still like.
I do. I still love to write on paper. I do.
I like the legal pads. I got these.
People are like, "Why are you wasting paper?" I'm like, "I just fucking like the one."
Yeah, you got to make contact with it,
Same thing. Bare feet on the grass, like.
Oh yeah.
You don't think about that. Somebody said that to me about 90% of the time, maybe even more, we're not connected to the earth. Meaning, we have shoes on, flip-flops,
right,
or we're walking on concrete. Like, think about the last time or how often you walk on a beach or barefoot on grass or something.
Yeah,
so now anytime I think about that,
I hate sand.
I go back home and I'm like taking my fucking shoes off and walking all around this grass in the backyard.
That's got to be therapeutic. There's got to be something, and
it's just being connected and literally grounded, and I think that probably helped you to sit and journal like that. Not only because it's positive, but again, you're spending more time with that exercise than these rapid fire negative thoughts that are coming through and eating at you through the day.
I had my therapist, like he at one point he told me, you need to fucking stop complaining, which is
to him. He
said that to me.
But
no, he said that to me, and my brother, who's he's a doctor, and he's like, that's a good therapist. The therapist doesn't let you get away with bullshit. And he said, well, what were you talking about? And I said, I was telling a story about how I was in high school, and I wasn't bragging. I mean, I guess I'm relaying the story, but I was talking to a therapist. You can't tell anybody this story. It's in the book, The Drama King, available on Amazon. But the gist of the story was I was again hanging out with older people. They were like in their early 20s, and they're in college, and
what are you, 14, 15?
15, 16, and they were into theater, and they brought me into like the city, and we'd go see plays at NYU. And so I'd sneak beers at places on the Lower East Side. I was always hanging out with them and just able to keep up. And I had a date, and she was, she was on the cheerleading team. She was a captain, and I had a date, and my buddy said, we're going to go in the city. We're going to see a play, but I got to stop at my dad's work before we go into the city. And his dad's work is I won't describe it in detail. It would be but it was like a titty bar in the strip club in the Meadowlands, and
in the stadium
near the Meadowlands, in that area. And so I'm in there with this hot, and I'm a sophomore. She's a senior, so like I'm pulling that, and I'm in a strip bar. I'm having a beer underage. There's chicks with tassels and a hot girl, and I'm on my way, and I'm like, that's when my therapist interrupted me and said, you need to fucking see your whole life like differently. You got to stop complaining, because I was like,
I'm not hearing the complaint though. What was the complaint?
I was telling that story to say, I guess there wasn't complaining. I don't know why I was on the topic, but I forgot about that story, meaning that I sometimes tell a story that my childhood was bleak, or I was lonely, or all these sort of self-pitying shits. And none of this was true. It's just the way I saw it, And then if you relay these facts to somebody, you mean to tell me you were in the block, and you tell some kid a story from Iowa or something, not to disparage Iowa, but like he might not have had that experience at a young age, and all the externals were telling me winning, not losing, and I was telling myself a losing hand. You know what I mean? And so he was telling me like, yeah, stop fucking. He wasn't, he's being therapeutic and whatever, but
professional.
He was just, encouraging me to always see, with all, I guess, the blessings or whatever the hell it might have been. But I had a hard time with it for a long time,
So how do you cope with that sort of thing? Like, you're in college now.
Yeah.
Do you stay close to your parents at that time? Are you close to any of your siblings now that you're 18, 19? Are you reconnecting?
We got closer.
Or actually connecting?
Yeah, I mean, we were, they were living their own lives. And my sister went to Peru for 3 years of missionary work. So, like, she was kind of out of the picture for like 13 to 17, 16. So that was a weird thing. I remember, my brother was working, and then he got into medical school, and then, everybody was, so they're in their late 20s, and I'm, just getting started. So we were tight knit, always home for the holiday, but there were Christmas where we weren't all together just because of circumstances, and I was always there. And then, the thing is, like, the beauty of where I went to school is like, it becomes so fucking all encompassing. It was so like intense amount of work. And then, cause you're doing plays and productions, and it's really like highfalutin. Like, my dad, he kept a streak of never missing me doing a play, starting with CMU, I guess, because he missed all my basketball games. He missed all my baseball games, not because he was absentee. It's just that he was in New York at the paper all the time.
Seeing all your brothers and shit.
Yeah, he might have.
He's like, I'm tired.
Well, and his days off, like, he had fucked up days off. Like, he had Thursday, Friday off, which was like 2 of those are school days. And eventually, I think he got Friday, Saturdays off. But he was never, So there was all these sort of normal family things that we didn't do, at least as a parental unit. So he would make trips for like 8 hour drive, 8 hours after work from the paper, come see a play, come crash with me, and
he
go
would drive
back
to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he drive.
Wow.
Yeah,
all right.
And he was cool. And then by then he's in his 60s.
Yeah.
And like, he made that's when you really start to see how lucky you are. How, like, he was a cool cat, and he would kick it with, then you start showing. There was that weird period where you like, drop me off here, Mom.
Yeah. Right.
You go through that fucking, come on, like, I just want to go to the mall.
Yeah.
Like, don't, like, you just don't want to be around him.
We're meeting at Joanne Fabrics. Just drop me off over here, goddamn.
Sofro Fabrics was the one we had, but so then you start showing them off, because then, like, how you individuate, I think is the word they use. You individuate, and then in college, and then you got to sort of like, you show off where you came from, and and he made an appearance.
All I have to show was pictures.
But oh yeah,
have anybody with
fuck!
no-
I'm like rubbing it in over here. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. I'm fucking lucky then, right? I got to consider that, and so yeah, and he was a sports writer and a big Joe DiMaggio, so everything was about like streaks and achievement, and I think that put a lot of pressure on me because I scored 20 points in a bitty basketball game. And he didn't see it, but I came home and I told him, he's like, what would you score? And I said, 20 points. He's like, you're the next Larry Bird. And I'm like, like it was just always go to the top.
The sports guy.
Yeah. And so, then when I blew out my small patellas, they betrayed me. I took a blow to the ego, not even the ego. I took a blow to my future. Like I'm fucking up because I can't play basketball, and, but, he put a sports analogy on a lot of stuff, which is helpful, but also can be the arts don't have those straight lines, and so it would be hard to measure up. And because of where I went to school, a lot of people were achieving at big, high levels, famous people, and you're just like, why, and he didn't know that he was basically saying, why aren't you doing that too? And so that was a weird, thing to battle. And but yeah, that was. CMU was a trip because it wasn't Partyville, that's for sure. No.
So then when do you start partying?
Well, you still squeeze it in, but you got literally like Saturday night, and then you gotta fucking get your shit together, and
So when I met you, you were drinking, right? Or
Yeah.
you drank?
I drank a lot. In not a lot, but like in high school, we had access because we had one of my best friends worked at a video store, and there was like a 20-something dude who was the store manager. So we had free videos, and he would buy us beer. So it wasn't even like that walking around town trying to steal beers out of people's garage. Like we could just put an order in. We want Michelob this weekend. And then his mother, we joke about the latchkey kids. Like his mother had a divorce, and she was always down the shore on the weekend. So from like Friday, I'm staying at Billy's, and we could kick it for 48 hours of freedom, and this guy was, helpful, for that. But so we rock beers, but, and in college.
Did you ever get into drugs?
No. I mean, I would once in a while get, peer pressure and I'd take a hit on a joint. I didn't even smoke cigarettes. I think when you met me.
No cocaine? Yeah, when I met you, were smoking
Yeah, I
cigarettes.
was chain smoke. Like I did all of this stuff after the
What
age
about all the cocaine we talked about?
Yeah, I never fucked with that. I did try it once in New York City, and that's a bad thing because it had no visible effect except to sober you up. And then I started drinking. I could drink and keep drinking. I went to an after hours club, and I was. It was the first time I ran into a lady of the night. I was in an after. Yeah. I was in an after hours club, and I was all gacked up on. And this is terrible. I'm saying it out loud. Just one time experiment, family. But this is brutal. But no, she comes up to the bar, really hot African American,
of course,
yeah, and she's like,
your wheelhouse.
She's like, you want to buy me a drink, and like that should be your debt. And she's like, I'll have Jack and Coke, and it's after hours club, so they're like $14. And I say I'll have one too, and then we go out. You want to dance? So I'm like, I don't know, so I'm rocking it, trying to show her moves, and I'm so inebriated that I fall on her, like we're grinding, and all of a sudden she's on the ground and I'm on top, and it's just like a shit show on the dance floor.
You fell on her.
Yeah. I just lost my balance and I fucking like pancaked her and
trying to show her the move.
yeah, right. And this is kind of when I knew she wasn't like normal, because she didn't like kick and scream and say get the fuck off, and she just like put her hands up and said, "That's okay, get up." And she's like, "Get up, you're fine." She's like, "If you want to talk to me, I'll be sitting over there." And there's this like sort of VIP couch area where there was this girl sitting there. I'm like, oh. And anthropologically, like that after hours thing might have been cool. It's fun to talk about. It's a good experience to have. It's kind of a New York thing. I guess there's clubs out here like that, but it's seedy as shit, and that was a turn off. So I kind of governed myself with like, I'm a beer drinker, and you can always and keep it square, and I like beer because it's social and you talk, and bars and writers and actors, they're famous bar patrons, and weed and anything else really didn't really do it, didn't take, thank God, I mean, the weed wouldn't have been a problem. I just never got off on it because probably by the time I tried it, I'd be half in the bag.
Yeah.
and it just didn't.
It ain't gonna do shit for you if you're already fucked
And
up on everything.
like
else.
I'm so square. Like I've never scored it one time in my like. I've
scored it.
Is that what they call it?
I'll give you some today to make you
like
fucking
you know what
officially
I mean?
break that
I mean,
streak. Your dad's big on streaks. Let's break down.
I never copped. Is that another one? Like I never copped.
Bought, got.
I never got like, and I just remember the old film canisters was the way
right.
people used to keep. But it just wasn't for me. But then somehow when I started smoking cigarettes, it was like it was my own rebellion, but all it did was hurt me.
Yeah,
So I said I've been such a goody two shoes my whole fucking life. I'm gonna enjoy this little habit I got, and so bad. People were blown away when they saw me because I did it. I started after college.
Yeah, it's late to start smoking cigarettes.
And so, thank God I quit that. But man, it was, just, I don't know, just so. But then I was so hyperactive also. And my buddy's like, I can't believe it's taken you this long to become a chain smoker because I'm a knee bouncer. I'm like one of those guys.
Me too. I'm doing that. I do it all the time.
So I needed some habits, but man.
What was your relationship like with your mom?
Well, that's interesting because we spent a lot of time together, and she did everything. So I was spoiled that way to have but it was kind of strict because she was the one who had to lay the rules down. And I was like, I always felt, I guess because I ran with some fucking juveniles, like I had like curfew was ridiculous. Like I was a chick. Like I felt like I would scream at like, what am I going to do? Get knocked up? Like, I just want to come home at 12.
Right. Yeah.
It was always like I had to negotiate 15-minute increments and shit. And I'd have to bolt out.
What was your curfew?
Like 10:30. Then it got to 10:45.
We'll be over there later. We gotta get Carl home by 8.
and nobody nobody does
as
the
a senior.
No, by the time I was a senior, I was hanging out in the city at strip clubs and drinking and stuff. But I blew the roof off it as a sophomore when I didn't come home till 6 a.m. You know what I mean? But
so your curfew's 10:30.
I think my curfew was 11 by then at sophomore year.
And you blew it to, what did you do?
And this is where you get addicted to theater. I was doing a play. The first play in high school was,
First of all, I love that you said addicted to theater. A lot of people would have been like, this is when I got addicted to drugs. This night right here.
Yeah. I'm doing sonnets and shit. Yeah. Jesus, what a corny fuck. Oh, God. This is not the Suge Knight story right here. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so I was in the senior musical as a sophomore, and I kept telling my best friend, I'm like, this girl's into me. Like there's a scene for the hot box girls. It's like, why don't they just call them the pussy chicks? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're called the hot anyway, and they dance and sing, and they're like little 1940s like razzie girls or whatever. And I'm like, she's into me, and my brother, and it's like that. It's like the '70s show. He's like, numbnuts. She's not. She doesn't even know you're fucking alive. And I'm like, I'm just telling you what I'm getting, And sure enough, like it happened at the cast party on a pool table. I start making out with her, and I'm like, it's out of body, literally out of body, because you're like, how the fuck did I pull this off? So I'm making out with her, and then, another couple like, let's go to the fucking high jump pit, out by the fucking where they run track and shit. We're making out there in her Subaru, and you're not gonna,
Why'd you stay in the car?
No, we got out, but we were all over the place.
The
but
high jump pit.
It just was ridiculous, and you're slobbing her down. She's fine, and I'm not gonna say. I'm just gonna take a fucking beating. I mean, I'm going home whenever the fuck this winds up, man.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was such a good kid that it was like the door just opened, like it opened before I got the key in, and they were in their robes, and they're just
they're both.
My parents are just like, what the fuck, and. We'll talk about it. I got off the hook. We'll talk about it in the morning.
There's no calling your kid back then or texting.
6 a.m. I mean, and like 80s, it's like, and today now, like, can you imagine today? It must be worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a fucking serial killer documentary every 10 seconds.
And also, you can text, and if you're not getting any response, then that makes it even worse. That makes it worse.
Oh, right. They're just in the dark for.
I've sent 10 texts. I'm not hearing anything.
I'm 6 hours over. Dude, 6 hours, you could be in fucking Missouri.
100%.
You know what I mean? Or you could be in the city.
I'm a hostage in Albuquerque, goddamn it. It's been 6 hours.
You know what I mean?
Send somebody.
The fugitive. It's like we could do the math. He's an average body. You can figure the radius.
Wherever,
So they must have been shitting bricks, but I wasn't hammered. I was just, basically like just love struck and all fucking fired up about my good luck. And I just remember the morning after is when I got the big, and I basically I wasn't taking
from dad or mom or both.
I think from my dad, but I was like, I literally was like, when is he going to understand that this is a fucking win? Like, I was not receiving any of the reprimand. I'm like, do you understand what I just did here?
Right.
If she's a senior, I'm soft, but this shit is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know,
like you should be high fiving.
Yeah, exactly.
Like my hand should hurt.
And he started getting into like, senior girls, they're gonna want stuff, and I'm like, yeah.
Was this your first talk?
Yeah, that's all I get, and I'm like, yeah, like sex, right? Like, this is what we're hoping for, but like
they're
he
gonna want stuff. I hope so, God.
He just couldn't get on board, and because we weren't, we didn't have that was the generation gap too. Like I didn't get any. My brothers and sisters didn't get it either, so it's not like. And I'm maybe I don't know if you're you're a long ways away from that, so I'm sure that's still gonna ever and always be an awkward fucking thing. But
I'm talking to my daughter about it the whole way.
Yeah, I guess you have to with the daughter, but I guess you got to with your son
I would
too.
with the son too.
Yeah.
I would. Hell yeah, you don't want them out there getting everybody pregnant.
Yeah,
either.
and I learned on the street. You know what I'm saying? I know that's the mean streets of New Jersey, but like I learned that like literally, I don't know if. I remember the day a neighbor's older brother said, "You know what fuck means?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "When you stick your fucking dick in your
all
pussy."
aggressive.
And I'm like,
"Oh, he's romantic." In the journal about that. I remember one time I had a night like that too, where my dad was coming to pick me up.
Oh,
I'm in 10th grade, and he said, "I'm coming to get you at 11." I'm like, "Dad, please." Midnight. He's like, "Ryan, I got to go in tonight at 2:00 in the fucking morning. I'm getting you at 11. Be ready at 11. Not 11:01, not 11:02. Be ready." And I was seeing this girl at the time, and they had a finished basement, as you do on the East Coast.
Yeah, Ryan, not me, but everybody else. Yeah.
Their daughter's bedroom was down there.
Oh,
no. And in like a little living room area. So she and I are down there. Parents are long asleep.
Fantastic.
And we're going at it. I'm a freshman. Actually, not a sophomore. I'm a freshman. Because she was the first girl I had sex with. I lost my virginity to her eventually, but this was all the
up until then.
Man. And so she's
rug burn.
We're making out. She's we're getting hot and heavy. We haven't done anything yet. And I keep looking at that motherfucking clock, and it's 10:56. It's 10:57. And 11 o'clock hits, and I'm like, my dad said he's gonna be here. I gotta get ready, and then 11 o'clock, and then I just hear, bah! He is in the driveway holding it
old,
down,
like they were like
station wagon,
loud
bro.
as fuck.
Woke her parents up. Like I'm running out with blue. I had blue balls so bad on the ride home, dude. I was like. He's like, "I told you,
it hurts
11
like
o'clock,
you got kicked
right?
in the nuts, right?
All up in your body. I told you, 11 o'clock. I'm like, you did not need to blow the horn. I was putting my fucking pants on. I'm running up like you went out the basement door and they had a little hill, so I'm running up the grass hill like I'm waving at him like he's just
stop the horn. Oh, he didn't play.
He didn't give a fuck about that one. And I would do the same thing today. I guess
you have to. I mean, but now it's like you should think of it like as a badge of honor, or like somebody gave a shit about you. Like it's like you were the lucky one. I was the lucky one. Like because there was shit going down in fucking the world. Like
oh man,
I didn't know like some of the little league dudes were diddling kids and shit. And it's like I was like you say like I didn't know that was happening, but they would like hang out and have candy bars after. And I'm like, well, why doesn't he want to kick it with me? And it's like he knew that I was well parented and not a mark, and like that would have fucking, and so all that stuff that made you feel like a herb or a nerd was the stuff that pays off and made you solid for the future, I guess. I'm still waiting for that to pay off, but it's just that's the way it was. But
do you want kids? Would you have kids?
I think that's past. That's past an option, and
for you.
I mean, I could, theoretically, I don't know. I haven't thought about it until, I guess even recently, because I guess I've been in that much of a basket case, and money's really important for that. And I know my folks, even though we're probably solidly middle class, we're strapped, in college, and I just, I think I'd be an okay dad, but
Be a great dad.
But
you'd worry about everything.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think that stuff is sort of goes cellular.
You'd have to let a little go too.
Yeah,
I see myself doing that. Like
that, you worry her. Do you worry? Does she pick up on your worry?
I don't think she gets my worry until I tell her I'm worried about stuff crossing the street, strangers.
Yeah.
She knows when I'm telling her legit shit. But I try to keep the stress in, anxiety in, and let it out in different ways, not around her if I can help it.
Well, yeah, that's anxiety. Like I heard a thing at a post office that I swear to God, there was a black guy at the end of the line in the post office, and a real kind of bitchy white woman came in, and she sort of cut the line, and he said, "Ma'am, you're not at the end of the line." And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he did it really cool, and he wasn't mad. And then they struck up a friendship online because it was a mad ass long line. And then she said, "Hey, would you mind? I got to put the meter in. Would you hold my spot?" He's like, "No problem." So they like had this micro friendship. But during the conversation, he said, "Well, I'm glad you paid the meter because, he goes, anxiety robs you of joy." And I heard that, and I was like, and then I talked to some hippy dippy friend, and they're like, that was not an accident that you heard that exact phrase. Yeah. And it didn't dawn on me, but I've been at auditions where the agent said, "You're a really nice guy, but when you get nervous, people don't trust nervous people, and you gotta
make them nervous. You're like,
and you have to find a way to get." And that's for stand up. When I thought my persona was this nervous that just made it hard for people to laugh. It made it hard for me to enjoy doing it, and it's been an ongoing. I guess that's where. But anxiety it's like
I saw the shift in you too at the Ice House recently too, where you just let loose and had fun and you weren't stressing at all and just slayed.
Yeah, well, I don't.
You didn't look worried, and I know you. I've worked with you enough to know when you're up there like
grinding them, thinking out loud. It went great, and I haven't done much since. I'm rethinking that. Whether I can. It really. I don't know if I can. I think Costa calls it a controlled anxiety attack stand up, and
it's interesting.
But it's you find out like why would you, if you're shy, why would you become an actor? For me it makes perfect sense. You pick the thing that's going to challenge you the most, or flip the personality the most, or cuz probably if in Russia when they picked your aptitudes and shit like that, like I would have been a guy I envy people who do like sculpting and shit like that. Just put me in a shop and I could just. But everything I do,
I took my daughter to the Museum of Natural History a couple weekends ago, and they had the guys that were there.
With the fossils,
and I'm watching them.
The shit, right?
And you're allowed to watch them. They're blocking out 20 fucking people staring at them, and they're just in the zone with that little thing.
Total zen out. I would love that.
Yeah, it was great. You'd be good at that.
I don't know. I'd have to probably have a degree in some kind of science.
I mean, if you had the background,
I think I would.
You could work patiently like that.
I do like tinkering. That's
I need to be around people. I can't. That would drive me nuts. To not ever hear or talk or even ask someone a dumb question.
Well, I think that's why I'm a hybrid personality. So I think I agree with you, but I do envy because you can't bliss out when you do stand. You got to be totally concentrated. You can't bliss out when you're writing. You can get in the zone, but you still got to crank words. It's not like you go when you paint. You can just throw paint, and I don't know. I just kind of envy those more instinctive arts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So unfortunately, we have something in common. Our dads have both passed, and I wanted to talk to you about that because I know your dad was such a prominent role model, and hearing, I didn't even know that he drove like that after work to come see a play. I mean, man.
Yeah.
Did they ever see you do stand up, mom and dad?
Yeah, they saw him. That's the for the crab feast.
Florida?
That's Florida was the first.
They were there for that.
Yeah, and it was a fucking nightmare. And that's why it literally almost sunk me, man, because it was so bad.
Do you remember what they said to you after?
My mom said that she thought Bill Bellamy was handsome but talked dirty, like because he curses.
Nothing about you, though.
No.
Right.
I basically like when they saw me, because I stayed out and then they went to sleep, and so at breakfast I was like, I walked out like, don't fucking say shit to me.
You said your hands up.
I was just like, I can't fucking. It was a disaster, you know.
So if you haven't heard the episode, Carl. His brother works in Florida at a weather channel, correct?
No, regular news channel.
And while he's there working with Bill Bellamy, he has the opportunity to set up this incredible shoot with how many cameras?
He just had the one that he did for press conferences, but I had a live mic and he had ambient mics and
just a bad set.
Yeah, I
ate it all on video with everybody out there.
I've never seen it. And my brother's like, we can look at it. No, he's like, and he was like, I'll fatten it up with labs.
Send that to us.
I gotta.
You gotta have.
I'm gonna ask him if he still has it.
Oh, come on, that exists.
I think it does. Yeah.
I mean, still, I know they recorded that night, but that's still somewhere on a drive.
Yeah, I think it's a 3/4 inch tape. I don't know.
You got to celebrate that.
Oh yeah, well at least that I survived it. Yeah, but that was hard because my dad. One of the best memories I have is when
your mom is still alive.
Yes, she's doing great. She goes to the gym. She swims.
How old is she?
I think she's. She won't like me saying, but she's in the 80th decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But she goes to the gym. I mean, she's in incredible shape, and she wants to go to the gym when I visit, and she gets a pass, and I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to manage, And
she's going.
She goes. She swims 3 times a week.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and she reads. I got my reading Jones from her, my reading habit. She reads everything, and she's a hip lady, and yeah. But
how did your dad? When did your dad pass, and how did your dad?
He
pass?
died in 2010, and he was.
How old was he?
He was 82, but his brother, who recently just passed, my uncle, was 98. So
wow,
we were really, as much as you can be. People are such pricks on wheels. Like I remember telling somebody, "Oh, I got to go home. My dad's sick with cancer." And the guy, I said, he was like, "How old's your dad?" I said, 82. And he goes, "Well," I'm like, "Really, dude?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm supposed to be glad about it."
Yeah. He made it to his 80s.
Yeah.
Fuck you, dude.
So. But yeah, he got a bad cancer. I think it was gallbladder. It was like only 20,000 people a year get it. It was really rare, and it swept through him pretty quick. And it was a 4 to 6 month diagnosis, and it was about 6 months. So it was really weird because it's probably there's no good way for that to happen.
No.
So, but I had a bunch of time to get to him and see him, but I was 3,000 miles away. And wondering why the fuck I did it, and that, that's what the stakes were, for leaving, I'm sure leaving a twin or leaving the East Coast. I mean, I know it's
everything.
Everybody's portable and but it's easier to leave
now.
Yeah, but
no, we didn't have FaceTime.
I had $2,500 and I had a Honda Accord, and that's still more than most people have in a fair shake in life.
Original rims on that Honda Accord.
Oh, that thing was beautiful. Yeah, 5-speed, but yeah, so I had to go back and forth. I had no money.
You did go.
Yeah, I went for 2 weeks, and they had a hospital bed downstairs and
in the house.
Yeah, and we tried to just be there. I was torn. Like, do I just pack up and move home, and he wouldn't let it go down like that. And
so, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah.
So mind was there. He was able to communicate and talk to you about things like that, like don't do that. And he wasn't just.
I mean, there's some moments where he was like, he was just one time he's a very fiery guy. He had a bad temper sometimes, but I think I had. He just got something. I had a couple emails or something. He's like, don't let me fucking be anything comes up. Don't fucking. I'm not the reason you're gonna not go to that. Or he was so into it. My dream. And so, maybe had a latent performance Jones or some kind of, I don't want to say vicarious. I think he was just more trying to prop me up, but, he just didn't want me to quit.
Great.
He just didn't want me to quit. And there was times where I was bottomed out, and I had quit. Like, you don't gain, I joke about it. Like, you don't gain 50 pounds unless you're playing Al Capone in the Untouchables.
And you're paid well.
Yeah. And I did that, and I moved to the most vain place on earth and got fat. And I was not helping my cause. And, then he gets sick, and it's like, what the fuck did I do with all this time away from them? Because I would kick it in the city with them all the time. So you're going
through the guilt of, now I haven't getting spend the time.
Yeah, and I'm sure my brother and sister did too. My brother's a doctor, so he had a real clinical way of dealing with it, and he got to look at some of the charts, and it was almost overlapped in his specialty. So, he was carrying the burden of knowing that there was not going to be much of a chance of a recovery, or even a year or 2, 3, 5. And so, but he was also it was a blessing because he was like the authority on the scene, but, it was tough I was still running the World Cafe show. And it's just like, do I want to fucking give a shit about this when I got and you got some fucking dildo? He's like, how can you never put me up? I'm like, bro, I'm in New Jersey at my.
You lit me 2 minutes early last fucking time, Carl.
Yeah, and it's just like I need this.
The
shit.
new bit. Man.
Yeah, I was
working on a late night set. For Christ's sake, you like me 2 minutes early.
So yeah, that was a tough time, and I got in debt, and you just feel real crummy. And then for some reason, I started writing my book as a way to. I had to do something to make him proud before he went, I guess is what my energy was.
Did you get the book out before
No,
you passed?
I missed it. And that's sort of it may be a narrative device, and I may not have been consciously, but I was about 50,000 words in before he died. And I was kept giving him word counts. Hey, I'm up to 20,000 words, Dad. I'm
Did
really...
he look at any of it? Did he...
No, but he had, a memoir that he was hoping to write, and he had these files, and he let me look at them, and then I had this notion I'd write a father-son book, but it just wasn't there what his narratives were, and maybe someday, but and he was a poet. That's the cool thing about my dad is like he was kind of macho sports guy and a poet, and I love guys like that, and I think that's a throwback. I hope to be a guy like that, but he wrote a book of poetry before he died and published it, and he was a famous, like, he was a poet. They called him the poet laureate of Rutherford, New Jersey, because he was like even at his age, he was the best poet in the whole room, and people get up there and read about their fucking vaginas and masturbating. He'd get up there and do like these Robert Frost type of he didn't rhyme. I guess it's called free verse, but so he was into it, and it was I didn't handle it particularly well. I was a fucking wreck.
The death or him dying?
All of it, all of it, because it felt like I didn't get shit done. You just every NFL player, I'm buy mom a house. They didn't need that, but I wanted to. I didn't think I was blowing smoke up my own ass. I don't think he was. I had some like early success, early prom. Like it wasn't like I was barking up the wrong tree. And like for many years, he was just as frustrated as I was.
Well, I can tell you as a parent that all I want for my daughter is happiness.
Yeah.
So if that means she wants to go into fucking horticulture, or she wants to do stand up, I mean, I'd be real with her about stand up.
Yeah.
I would tell her the truth. But I would support whatever it is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
So it didn't matter to your dad whether he held that book in his hand or not. He knew what his son was out there doing. You're giving him an update on it. He had been there. He's already published.
Right.
So I don't know, man. It just sounds like...
Yeah, I mean, it's part of a self-dramatical, and it's a catchy name, maybe, the drama, but it's really that I learned somewhere along the line that I was performing my life as opposed to, like, living it. And when you're not stand-up kind of saved me because I was performing and I was getting fatigue from the exhaustion of, doing stand-up. So I wouldn't need to, like, do karaoke. I wouldn't need to be the center of attention. I wasn't bouncing off the walls as much. I needed to conserve energy for performance, and it dawned on me that I didn't need to make my life, dramatic or critical. And then when you get hit with a real emotions that are, I mean, I would start crying in a fucking subway, and I didn't give 3 fucks about it. Didn't give 3 fucks about it.
Let me tell you something.
Like bawling, snot coming out. My girlfriend would be like, she was the best. She shepherded me through it. She came home with me, made pancakes for him. Even he's like you got any testers? My dad's like, you got any testers? You eat those. He had diabetes too, so he wasn't supposed to be eating that shit. But at that point, so she was making, and so, he's a funny guy, but because he was a poet and a writer, there was a very fucked up thing when the end is near that. It was, and what my mom had to do, because we were only there sporadically. She was there. I didn't know they had to call the EMTs a couple times because he slipped in the bath. Like, just shit you didn't want to hear about. And
it's your hero is becoming weak and frail and sad and broken. And
So, you didn't. I can't imagine, if you lost your dad at 16, I can't imagine not having had him all that
30 years
Yeah.
later, I'll be 46 in March. I don't mind saying my age. I'm still here. My dad died at 42, so that was a big moment for me.
Yeah, that's huge. That
weird,
birthday was scary.
43
for you, huh?
that was when I had all those crazy health issues in
Oh
2016.
my God, I didn't. Put
I
that
found
together.
out I have this blood disease and that this clotting and everything is actually probably how my father really died, from clots, not a heart attack like they thought back then. Like,
no,
it
clots
came
are bad.
full circle, and they were saying that with all the technology these days, they're able to diagnose clots, where back then, late 80s, if you died in your 40s, they just said heart attack.
Yeah.
They didn't know. And they're saying now that we're learning more and more, and equipment is where it is, we're thinking that we've misdiagnosed those people.
Shit. Yeah.
And those people probably had a clot that took them out, not an actual heart attack.
Pulmonary
embolism.
PE, yeah.
So there'll be times I'll be in the grocery store and some bullshit song will come on, and I'll be like,
oh, it's so easy.
I just want to grab a frozen motherfucking pizza, and I'm just like,
oh yeah,
it'll get you when you least expect it.
Yeah, well,
but then I laugh about it because I feel like, it's just like one of those things where, like, my dad would laugh about that.
Yeah.
If he was standing next to me, like, look at you fucking crying right now.
Yeah, that's true. And my dad was in my act early on. Like, he was always screaming and yelling and shit. And then, he was like, use me. He's like, I don't care if you make me out to be the biggest piece of shit.
That's what he said. He just wanted to be in something.
Yeah, he just wanted it. If it was going to be fodder or grist for the mill, he was all for it. And, I just, I guess I wish we had a better time. There was no need to be so fucking flipped out all the time.
Scared all the time of nothing.
And worried about your career. And
I read once, too. I want to say it was something like 80% of the things we worry about don't end up even coming to fruition. And you think about it, I don't know what that number is.
Right.
But I feel like it's more often than not, you worry about something like, oh, that fucking took care of itself. Didn't even need to really spend time on it.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah, but if you're also but how do you feel productive without
so
fucking punching walls or banging your head against the wall? Like, to me, seemed productive.
Were you able to say goodbye? Were you there?
Yeah, I mean, I made it by the fucking. I made it by a hair because
that day you made it in, or Are you comfortable talking?
Yeah,
about this?
I guess now I am. I wasn't. Like I said, it took me 2 years to be able to even say my dad passed away
without getting choked
just
up.
losing it.
Yeah.
And people, like, I remember seeing it. I won't name.
Just thinking of you.
I was at the Improv one night and I hadn't seen a certain comic in a while, and she's really good. The friends in comedy are different than maybe like friends, but she was a good friend in comedy, and she's like, "What have you been doing?" And I was like, "Oh, my father. I'm so sorry." And she said, "When?" I was like, "About 2.5 years." She goes like, she looked like get over
right.
But I was a fucking wreck for a while. But the saddest thing is that he was a lucky man.
Sorry.
He was lucky that he got to be home. Like, he went in the hospital and then they stabilized him enough to get him home. And
it's kept him comfortable.
Yeah, and then the hospice thing, and but I had to fly, home. Everybody in my family was there, and I was the last one, because of just means and how far and what I had to do for work, and I just I have to go. My brother's like, you got to come, get a ticket tomorrow, and so I got one way, and got picked up at the airport, and. He couldn't talk, you have that fucking movies give you this fantasy that they could be like, here's my parting fucking word of wisdom, or, and he just was he wasn't verbal, and but it was amazing because I got to his bedside and I got to hold his hand and he squeezed it and his eyes lit up, and I got that moment, and we all did, and we were there. He stayed one more day. We were playing John. He liked John Denver. This fucking guy I loved.
Thank God I'm a country boy, man. I love John Denver.
This Italian guy from New Haven, Connecticut, loves fucking John Denver.
7th inning stretch. Man.
So the hospice nurse said, play all his favorite music. We're playing that. Benny Goodman. He liked Roy Orbison, and my sister was reading his poems to him. It was wild to have a night, like a day with him, but he was incapacitated, and then we were there when he took his last breath. That's an amazing, lucky guy. And, it's the first time I ever said that I'm really glad that it was a blessing. I was inconsolable for many, 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 many months. And I was in a Catholic church. They don't let lay people speak. And I was really pissed off about that because you also, as a comic writer, actor.
Wait, they didn't let you get up and speak? Wow. Well, my grandma. Now, I didn't speak when my grandmother died. I couldn't believe what we went through. Like,
oh, you must have
dropped
been
dead
in
in front of
total.
us.
Really?
I gave her mouth to mouth, the whole nine. Took her out. She wasn't. I shouldn't say she dropped dead in front of us. She was alive. She died on the way to the hospital. But I remember my cousin really wanted to get up, my cousin Anita, and say some things, and they let her. They did let her.
I don't know, just maybe our parish or whatever. But to be honest with you, and I even wrote about it. Like, I'm a professional. I may not be famous, but I'm a professional public speaker, and I wouldn't have been able to get through fucking 8 seconds. I was a fucking sobbing shitbag mess, and you know, only because it is something you're grown up as a boy not to like. I guess. I don't know. I've changed my attitude about it. When I see people cry, dudes cry, I'm like, you got heart if you can cry.
Yeah.
And it hurts in proportion to how much you love somebody. So
these people that think apologies are weakness or crying is a weakness. Let me tell you something. It may be a weak moment.
Yeah.
It may be a weak moment, but that moment, all you're doing is building a foundation of strength.
Yeah.
And if you can keep moving forward, I'll tell you this. This is, I don't know if I've ever even said this. I probably have on the crab feast, but my grandmother came out of her bedroom. Her last words were, "Somebody help me." Oh. She goes face first on the floor. I mean, arms to the side, no pun intended, dead weight, just all weight. Straight down on her nose. So my brother, I'm already on 911. He runs up to the top of the stairs. He's freaking out. He doesn't know what to do. I tell the lady, I didn't know that, because when you call 911, my dad had been dead for a while, so they won't send an ambulance. They send a coroner to come get the body. She's still alive. She's having now she was having a massive heart attack. And, I'm in lifeguard class. I just became a lifeguard at the Y at the time. So I'm certified in CPR and mouth to mouth, all of it. And I tell I didn't know, the lady's like, you need to stay on the phone until they get there. So I switch with my brother and I go up and I'm giving my grandma mouth to mouth. And it's just like, you don't ever want to fucking have to do that in your life.
Fuck, yeah, no.
And her nose is as black as your shirt because she fell and broke it. Her teeth broke out of her mouth. I'm going to be fucking straight up with you. And they come in, they get her down the stairs, they rip her shirt open. You're seeing all that. That's your grandmom. They put the paddles on. And even prior to that, I always hated the paddles. That lifeless jelly that rolls after they shock you always has freaked me out. Oh. And they're not gentle. They come in and rightfully so. They throw your furniture out of the way to clear an area to work on somebody.
Yeah, they're not there to fucking be dangerous.
It's not fucking Hollywood. And they hit her with the paddles, and they're giving her oxygen, and her color starts to come back. And I'm telling you, I could see her. She was gasping for air, and I'm talking to her the whole time, and she's just looking right through me. Her eyes are glassed over, and she's just piercing right through me, and she would just go like that. And I'm like, okay. And I'm trying to count. Okay, it's every 8 seconds. So when they came in, they were like,
8 seconds is
I'm like
when,
she's gasping
when you have
every 8 seconds.
That's oxygen count?
Yeah. And they had her down to 6 and 4. So she was doing better on the way out the door. My brother goes with her in the ambulance. I have to stay back you have to give a police report. And not only that, you have to put your home back together. It's not TV.
Right, because there's all their debris is there.
Shit's everywhere.
They leave packaging and shit.
And I go to the top of the stairs, and I'm bawling. And my grandmom's teeth are in the fucking carpet.
God,
and I kept her place immaculately clean, and I would hear those little bits of teeth in the vacuum for about a month or so when I would clean up. You could hear them.
Just rattling.
They just got buried in the fucking carpet. There would just be these little pieces. And that moment when I went up, I was bawling, and I'm a zombie, and I'm picking my grandmother's teeth out of the fucking carpet of her house. And right there on the wall is a picture of Jesus. And it's tilted. That picture was never tilted.
Yeah, there's stuff like that.
I don't know if the fall, whatever, the thing's fucking tilted. And I think back in my mind, and I see where I'm positioned, and I think that she was looking at that picture. That's what she was looking at on her way out.
Wow.
And also, I think that I was blocking it.
You're doing your compressions and shit. Annie, are you okay?
And she's trying to fucking look. Just let me see Jesus, right? Jesus probably trying to turn to see her like, oh Carrie, I'm coming, Carmela. Oh.
That's fucking brilliant.
I really do believe they were trying to fucking communicate. And my fat head's in there like, and one, and two. And, they tell you to go to the beat of Staying Alive. So I'm doing that. I'm like,
are you kidding? Tell you, Bee Gees are the fucking life beat. Italians love the Bee Gees.
And I'm going, I'm trying to do Staying Alive to somebody
on her
dying.
chest. Well, and it's someone you
Jesus is trying to see her, and she's trying to see Jesus, man.
Wow.
And then we go to the hospital. And I don't know why this nurse said this way. I think I don't know if they called somebody or what, but they said her boys should go back first. Well, my uncle's there. That's her boy. My dad's already dead.
Wow.
And they meant me and my brothers, Derek and Todd. And we were living with her at the time. Just Derek and I were. And we go in, and, man, they don't clean it up. Like, she's on a table. She's got a fucking sheet over her. Head's out. But they got that fucking tube in her throat. So I'm like, you guys can't even pull that fucking thing out. Oh. We're just looking at our dead grandmother on this thing, and my brothers are looking at me like, what should we do? And I was like, we should thank her. And we stood there. It chokes me up to talk about it. And just, thanked her out loud for everything this woman had not only done for us, but you gave us our father,
Wow.
So it was just this moment of like, it's never that pretty. Even when those people are breaking down in the hospital and shit, it's all pristine and it's clean. Like you said, it's this, here's my last word. No.
Yeah, it's the Westerns where they like, tell my wife.
Yeah,
it's like, it's never
tell my wife. No, it ain't that.
And I think that does a disservice because it's, I don't know. Oh, wow, that's a heavy story, man. That just brings back, so many, but, it's, I maybe for a while I also held on to, I'm younger and this shouldn't be happening at this stage in my life. But you had it so much earlier and so much.
And often. That was the thing. It came early and often. Quick. I mean, by the time I'm 20,
God,
I've lost my father, my mom's left the family though, so she's gone.
Okay, I didn't even know. I thought she wasn't with us, but
no. But dad dead. Grandma dies now.
Yeah, and it's like I have friends that the grandma became a parent, right?
She unfortunately,
yeah.
That was different too. My grandmother's house was always a special place. The smell of garlic and sauce always permeating.
Oh, that's it's your Italian
place.
side.
Oh yeah. And once you start living there, you don't smell that anymore. You know what I'm saying? You're there now, and you're used to it, and it's not that. So that was always a big shame to me. And people would ask me like, "What was it like?" And I said the biggest shame to me of living with my grandmother was it wasn't my grandmom's. I wasn't going to my grandmom's house anymore. Now I'm going home. And there's just something special about going to your grandmom's house.
Yeah.
And as she would say, I love you to come and I love you to go.
But what were you ashamed of? Just that it became commonplace?
I wasn't ashamed of it. It was just, that was the hardest thing, was losing that specialness.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
That feeling of this special place, but now it's every day I'm there. It doesn't feel special anymore.
Right.
And there's every goddamn day reminder why I'm living in this fucking house. And poor her son's dead. So
yeah, you're not supposed to live through that.
No.
Yeah.
And we'd make jokes about
it. And it probably
all
stressed her out.
All the time.
The health
and where
issues.
we're driving and like, where are you kids going?
Yeah, God forbid you hyper protective of you guys. Yeah.
Or you, and she would always say, "Oh, I miss my son."
Oh, that stuff is unbearable.
Hon, do you want some cheese? Like, I mean, in and out of that shit like that, man. I'm gonna make some sauce. I'm like, yo, you dealing with it? Like, we all were.
Yeah, well, we get that. My mom gets those. Not very emotional, but like the movies, the crying. You can just hear, and everybody's staring straight ahead. No one will look at each other, and you just hear. You just hear like, oh, there she's going. And so you got to pick your movies wisely when you get Netflix at the house. But it used to happen when I was little. It's these bursts of emotion because I don't know. You got to open that up because stuff is. It shouldn't be so embarrassing, and it shouldn't be.
It's just
so hard to say you care and you love somebody, and my dad was the gushy guy.
You're waiting for that point too, and you're lucky you got to.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't get to say a damn thing to my father. I didn't get to ask him questions.
Right.
I would have loved, as a father, I would have loved to have been like, how the fuck did you deal with twins?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In 1973, 2 of these fucking things at the exact same time.
Oh my God.
I would have worked my ass off too, to be honest with you. Be out of
Yeah, well, there's the thank God it's Monday phenomenon, right? Where guys can't wait to get the fuck back to the office,
So I want to go back to some other things too, as far as like how this has affected you. You said you got kicked out of college, out of Carnegie Mellon?
Yeah,
you did.
This is funny. I used to not tell stories that were in the book because I didn't want to spoil it. Like anybody's buying the fucking thing.
Available on Amazon.
Yeah, no, but.
Wait, so
it's a very intense conservatory culture, which I know, like, compared to the military academies, is pussy shit. But it's very intense. So every year you're reevaluated whether you belong in this program or not
by a board,
by the faculty, and you have these things called juries where you go in and you sit down with the faculty and they review your work and they say, okay, well, we'll see you next year. So I got through that freshman year, and then sophomore year. And there's also a lot of things that were holdovers from like the 80s, 70s and 80s. Carnegie Mellon and a bunch of other schools were in a thing called the League of Consortium Theater Programs. So there were like this sort of thing that existed, and they all presented in New York. And so you want to go to a league school, and so that kind of fractured, and so Carnegie Mellon was just kind of on its own. But the old ways of, like, basically it's called you get cut. So you're living in fear of the cut, and you start with 40 students, and we wound up, the happy ending is we graduated 13. So like, and they auditioned.
That's it?
Yeah.
Are you
or
one
16,
of the 13?
16 or something. Yeah, I was one of the 13. So I made it through, but I did get that thing that, and this is an example of fear being a crippler. So I had a rough time freshman year adjusting to the rigor a little bit, but I'd done a lot of theater in the summer and a lot of, so I was always anticipating the desired results of these exercises. They didn't let you perform until you were a junior and a senior, so you were always doing shit in the classroom to break habits, and it's just very intense. It was 12-hour days just on the schedule, and then you had to do crew at night for the shows that were up, and you would learn set building and all this shit. So you're getting stressed out. I got mono my freshman year, and I thought I was clinically depressed because I would sleep through everything, or I was narcoleptic, and it turned out I had mono and didn't know until I went to the infirmary, and they said, well, you're getting over it. And then sophomore year came around, and I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get cut freshman year, and then you become really tight, and you become like, you can just imagine a young Carl D. My crew, it was all my people. Really intense feelings of, you're performing, you have to do a lot of, like, actually we would do this as a groups, talk about shit. It's not normal fucking college. But sophomore year I got involved with some I started dating a couple of women, and I guess I took my eye off the ball, and but I thought I was performing well, and we had a big final showcase, and I kicked ass. I had a senior year girlfriend at the time, and she's like, everybody in the class is like, you were the best one up there, and they're all mocking her because she was like cradle robbing, and also, but he was like the hot actor in the class. Whatever. This is all anecdotal and unprovable, but that's how it was happening. And then my sophomore year jury came up, or whatever they call it, and you remember going in the office and the secretary dude is there, and he knows this was like shitty afterward. Like, he knew I was going in to get my head lopped off, and he was like, hey, nice to see you. And you have to, I was going to the airport, or people were going to the airport. It was like right after the school year, and they sat you down, and they basically came up with this mumbo jumbo, and you're just waiting to hear, we'll see you next year. And I had to go do summer stock that year, and they said, we don't think you should continue in this program. And I was like, oh, okay. And they maybe threw a few cents in about why, and some teachers I thought were allies started going with the company line. And then I walked out like glass-eyed. I walked by, everybody was waiting for their conference. I guess it's more called a conference, and I walked out the back of the building, and my buddy came up to me, and he's like, what happened? You okay? And I'm like, I'm not okay. And I said, they cut me. And he's like, what? And he fucking kicked it. Like, he was more pissed off than I was.
Yeah.
And I fell apart. This is so sad now, but like, it's so intense, the sort of indoctrination that you can't, and you put in 2 years, and these credits ain't transferring fucking nowhere.
So when they say the program,
sword wielding is you're not gonna be able to go to fucking Rutgers and get an engineering degree. So
I got an AA in sword wielding, motherfucker. You tell me these credits?
Yeah.
These 62 ain't carrying over. Mm-hmm. So when they say out of the program, it's the whole college. It's not just this program at Carnegie Mellon.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, I sent 2 applications. I did the drama one and like a general. I guess I might have done. I got into both schools in case I didn't get into drama, but. Yeah, I think you're basically done as a student. You might have been able to transfer into English department,
wielding.
But and the sort of middle class irony of the whole thing was the reason I had to fly out the next day was to go to my brother's medical school graduation. So I just got my ass kicked out of college, and I'm like, this is just a terrible. And I was not telling anybody for like 3 or 4 days.
No.
I was just sitting around in a funk, but
Well, how'd you get back in?
Well, my dad came to the rescue. He got on his gray fucking suit, and he flew out. Everybody flew to Pittsburgh.
Everybody, your mom, dad.
I think everybody. Yeah, everybody
to
did.
rally.
No, we were in North Carolina. We were all there anyway, so we had like a meeting, and then my dad said, "I'm coming to Pittsburgh, and I'm going to talk to the fucking head of the department and see what's going on." And he pled my case, which is kind of just concerned parent. He wasn't going to help my cause because he wasn't there. He didn't know it.
Damn, that's fantastic. To have that kind of support.
And then all my friends in college were, they I didn't know this at the time, but and it's a guy I wish I would talk to. I owe him a debt of gratitude, but they did a petition, and the last guys who had the last conference of the day said, "We have a petition," and he said, "Before we talk about me, we want to talk about Carl. And this can't stand." And it all kind of, there was an article, this is so nerdy, but theater, I think it was Theater Week. There are these theater magazines, and they had an article in 84 or something, 85. And it was called Black Monday. And it was about all these schools with these draconian fucking kick people out. And it was the article was about it happens on a Monday, and people getting 1 year at CMU. The students were so pissed at the person they kicked out that they threw red paint on the fucking call board to like protest it, and they were talking about doing that, and everybody's like, "Don't do it for Carl.
Don't do it for Carl."
Or I was like, "Do it!" Like I want to fucking
come
blood
on, hey, I got a shit. I need paint.
Hold
on to that red paint.
Yeah. So that didn't go down, but the guy had the balls to go in there and say, "I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about Carl." And so I had that kind of working for me, and then I flew back to Pittsburgh to like pack up the house, or I had a meeting I had a teacher who was in my corner and would let me vent. And and I'm like, bro, I'm, in my ego mind, I'm like, I'm dope. Like, how the fuck am I the guy? And he was, explaining how it blah, blah, blah. And then I wrote this letter that I only have parts of it, and I wish I had, but like I wrote like a 10-page letter that was talking about where I was blocked, how I was, just bearing my soul, telling them that these relationships were a distraction, and that, everything you say is kind of right, but I want to fix it here. And then I had to go do fucking summer stock for $25 a week in a fucking barn.
What is that? What is summer stock?
Summer stock. It's like
what really is
the
it?
joke is summer stock is a work camp set to music, right? So you during the day you rehearse the play, and then at night you do the other play. Like at first you just rehearse one play, you put the play up, and then at night you perform the play, and then the next day you're rehearsing the next play, and you do like 6 plays in 3 months.
Okay.
And they're all the musicals from and so you have to rehearse in a week. It's
because
crazy.
Everybody's got a summer stock. I feel like I hear it so often.
Yeah, I don't know to the degree that it's.
But you're just ripping and running plays.
Yeah, and I wasn't particularly a musical person. It was classic. I was butchering the choreography, and it was just fucking hilarious.
You butchered it with the hooker, man.
Yeah, I fell on people. But like my reaction was always fuck, like, and I'd be in the middle of trying to do anything goes, and I'd be cursing and shit. But and so while I was there, I still was I was in limbo with my appeal to get back into school. So I'm doing these bullshit plays. Everybody's, I was just so out of that, and still trying to like connect with the girl who was breaking up with me, and And I didn't know I was going to get back into school, or if I, how I was going to face the world. I got like a fucking psychosomatic diarrhea. Like it was, in my myopic world, my little bullshit theater college world, like it was like being excommunicated,
Right.
Yeah. And then I eventually a letter showed up, and this is old school. Like there was only one pay phone in the house at the Summersock Theater, and I had to sit in the fucking phone booth and check in if I got any mail. And eventually I got mail, and they said they're gonna on a probationary, they're gonna take me back and on a probationary thing. And then I had junior year to sort of get my shit together, and then it all just sort of came together, But
Did your dad come to your graduation?
Oh yeah, and he came to every play
How about
that I
that?
did, and my mom came out. Everybody came out, and then my dad was like, this motherfucker was dragged to all your graduations. He basically said, you're gonna be there.
Yeah.
And that was great, and it was the first time that I was the graduate instead of like looking up to these. I mean, my brother went to fucking Duke, so like that was he was a big, and he became a doctor. So and they were all good schools, and so but CMU with that conservatory, the drama thing, it felt a little, felt as special, and that was a big day. But it was, I got kicked. I experienced the drop out, getting kicked out, but I didn't lose any time because people have had to come back and take a 5-year plan, and it all worked out. But you lived in mortal fear of getting cut, or at least I did, and the smart people didn't give a shit.
But that sounds like most of your life you've lived in that kind of fear.
That's sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. And
so you're a successful professional stand-up comedian. You're a successful published author.
Yeah.
You're a thespian.
Yeah.
A graduate of,
Yeah.
of a very prestigious school.
Yeah.
CMU, Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh. Where are you now? How do you feel about your anxiety? Like, what are you doing to deal with it? And do you think you're better now than you were then? And
yeah, I'm much better now. But I have to practice, and that appeals to me. The word practice as opposed to self-help, or I go to therapy, which is
you still go?
Yeah, I go on it's not as I went right before my dad got that you got to come home. I went to see this therapist because I was struggling back then, just in general, and I basically just talked about my dad dying, and I just needed a urgent visit. And the guy said, if you want to talk when you get back, I understand. And I didn't go back for years, and then I started 5-6 years ago with the same guy. He's fantastic.
You go weekly?
I was going every week, but it's expensive because I go out of pocket because I'm so neurotic about losing my fucking rights to buy like a gun or something.
You can't get one?
I don't know. You never know. If they say it's a mental health issue.
Sure, then there you go.
I don't even want to be in the same room as a gun, but I'm just saying I don't want the stigma to be diagnosed, so I pay out of pocket. And now I'm speaking to the HoneyDew crowd. But one thing I do, and this is so kind of, I'm not going to give it the qualifier because that takes the wind out of it. I write down every day minimally 3 things I'm grateful for.
Larson introduced me to a book, and for the life of me, I can't remember it now, and I want you to know it. Somebody out there will probably say, but it starts off with that 3 things I'm happy for, and you write those down.
Yeah.
And then 3 things throughout the day, and then in the evening, you get a little critical, like, what I could have, and it's not to beat yourself up,
right.
But it's like, I could have eaten better
that's probably
today.
I
could have been a little more positive.
Yeah.
I have the book at home. I've done 2 of them, and it really did help. It helped because it just changes your mind. Because once you start writing positive, you start seeing the positive.
It does flip your brain.
Absolutely, and it works. And
I literally just write down in my day planner, and half the time it's good sleep, because that's going to be,
that's that was a big one for me too.
But like if you're having if you're having a bad day and you write down Cheez-Its, I've written down Cheez-Its, right? And that may seem like, in my old brain, I'd be like, what a loser, like you're happy for fucking Cheez-Its. I'm like, you know what? That's still a great fucking day by worldwide standards.
That's what I'm saying.
A fucking Cheez-It is dope as shit. And it's tasty, and I got a day to sit down and bust.
You ever want to come over for some Cheez-Its? I got that family pack. Believe me.
So that's how you're not having, even on your worst day, you still got something to say went right.
Right.
And I was the opposite. I got titties in my face, and I'm like, this is bullshit.
That guy's like, you need to shut the fuck up. Quick. Yeah, that's when. So after that crazy health stuff, which I'm going back to now because my dad died at 42, I made it to 43, and that was weird. It was weird.
You're like Mickey Mantle.
It was weird to walk on this planet and know that
but that's
I'm
a big
older
thing to
than
carry.
my father ever was.
Yeah.
And I don't feel, but I still feel like his son.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
It's a weird thing. It was a weird thing to deal with. And it is still. Every year I get older, I'm like, I just driving the other day, I'm like, God, my dad was never this age. There's 3 years of shit I have done.
Yeah, he never had. Did he need readers before he went? Like his eyesight was good by the.
He was good. He was good.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's an amazing perspective to have.
Well, you're amazing, and I can't thank you enough for coming on here. And
thanks,
opening
man. It sounds like a therapy session.
Well, that's what this is, man. A little bit of everything, a little bit of laughter, and we're finding light in the darkness. And I can tell just from knowing you, you've come such a long way, and I'm proud of you that you go to therapy. And
Thanks.
Because a lot of guys beat them. That was one of the things I learned too going to therapy. The ladies would tell me, like, not a lot of you guys will come in here. It's a lot of ego, and machismo won't allow them to be in here and open up. And I'm like, fuck that shit.
Well, it's just it's a luxury, but it's I wish more people could do it.
And podcasting and stand up certainly have been therapeutic over the years. And I'm very grateful for you and for you coming on. And we got more to talk about, and you're going to be a repeat guest.
I hope so, man. I really appreciate it. And to be honest with you, your friendship has pulled me through because, that's what we're here to do is to connect. And so, being better, more present for you as a friend is actually part of what helps me, keep my shit together. So thank you.
Well, I'm thankful and grateful for you, brother. So please, one more time, will you promote whatever you'd like?
Yeah, just pick up the Drama King on Amazon. Carl DiGregorio on social, dgregorgeous.com. And apparently I'm going to be on the third season of Room 104. They shot 2 seasons and stacked them. So I thought I was going to be in season 2, but season 3 is coming up. So
all right,
keep you posted.
Well, thank you again. You are always welcome. I love you. Appreciate you opening up. I am Ryan Sickler on social media, ryansickler.com. We'll talk to y'all next Wednesday.